Hi everybody, so this is my Google Classroom project. I created the unit you'll see later in the slides for a sixth grade social studies classroom. I really enjoyed this project because I was able to see how I will have to use Google Classroom in the future for my own students. And I enjoyed getting to know the features like the assignments and materials and how to put as many things in an assignment as I could. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Also, you will see down at the bottom that there is a classroom link that you should be able to click and go right to my classroom to see some of the individual materials and assignments that I've created for it. The unit I chose to do for the Google Classroom project is based on a cost and benefit analysis unit that I was already working on for another class. And these are just some of the standards that we used for that other unit. The first one is about ELA literacy for sixth graders. It says delineate a speaker's argument in specific claims, distinguishing claims that are supported by reasons and evidence from claims that are not. The next one is the K through 8 social studies content statement. Individuals have many wants and make decisions to satisfy those wants. And really, for this unit, I wanted students to look at how their choices affect themselves and others. Um, the next content statement says, when selecting items to buy, individuals weigh costs and benefits and compare the price and quality of available goods and services. That one was really important to the overall learning that I wanted students to go through, especially with the learning stations. The next one is reading literacy. Cite textual evidence to support analysis of what the text says explicitly, as well as making your own inferences that you drew on from the text. The next one is a writing standard. Write informative or explanatory text to examine a topic and convey ideas, concepts, and information through the selection, organization, and analysis of relevant content. There's also many materials used in the learning stations where they would need to write off of. Um, the next one is engage effectively in a range of collaborative discussions with diverse partners on sixth grade topics, texts, and issues, building on others' ideas and expressing their own clearly. In these learning stations, there are two debate stations, which is where this standard would really come into, especially the next one, as it says, present claims and findings, sequencing ideas logically, and using pertinent descriptions, facts, and details to accentuate main ideas or themes, use appropriate eye contact, volume, and clear pronunciation. This is where the debate would come in this unit. And then the last one is language. Use knowledge of language and its conventions when writing, speaking, or listening. That is where this standard would be used, especially for the summative assessment at the end, which is the reflection project, where they would have choices on what kind of project they would want, and they would need to use those conventions as they describe what they learned throughout the unit. So for this Google Classroom unit, there was many requirements in terms of features that we had to use for it, and I used just about all of them. I made announcements, assignments, materials, a quiz, a couple questions, and within these materials and assignments, I created Google Docs and Google Slides, as there are internal features for these features like the Google Doc and Google Slides. There's also Google Sheets and stuff like that. So I did implement a lot of those in my Google Classroom project. In terms of what features I liked most for this project, I would say it was really cool to be able to learn about all of them, but I really liked being able to customize like the heading and the color of things. I think having a colorful background for classes can engage the students a little bit more and make, the overall feeling of my class a little happier and a little positive instead of just having like black in dreary colors for Google Classrooms. I think it's important to try to be as cheerful and represent kindness and positivity. And using, the right colors and the right background could possibly change a student's mind about how they feel. That's just me though. As a student, I wouldn't want to look at a Google Classroom that would be just like full of black. It's not fun to look at. Therefore, I probably want to have fun in the class. So yeah, that's probably my most liked feature for this Google Classroom. So because I use an iPad as my laptop, my Google Classroom will probably look a little differently because it's differently formatted onto an iPad, but they're still the same things. So for my stream section, which is next to the classwork and people sections that you can click on, it'll have all of the assignments, materials, quizzes, announcements, questions, anything that you add that you want your students to see. And as it shows on the screen, there are there are sections below each thing that says you can add a class comment. So as you can see, there's a reflection project assignment, there's materials for the cost and benefit PowerPoint, there's a think, pair, share question, and there's also an announcement for two stations that I have in my unit called Lemonade Stand and Food Choice Groups. So on this slide, we're still going to be talking about what my stream looks like. If you look on the right-hand side where it says there's an announcement, it says, "Hello, sixth graders, welcome to social studies class." That is the very first thing that I posted. And then it goes up as we go on. And so on that last slide, it actually had the last thing that I posted. But either way, it shows on the stream that anything new that the teacher posts, it'll tell you. Also, for new assignments or materials, you can always have a date on where you want it posted instead of posting it right away in case you don't want your students to either, work ahead or if you just want it to be a surprise. Whatever your reasoning is, you can always postpone the day that you can post things on Google Classroom as well. So on these slides, I'm going to be diving in deeper into the kind of classwork that I added to the classwork section of my Google Classroom. Students are able to access this as well. So if you look on the left side here, I have the cost and benefit PowerPoint. That is a material. Below it, there is a question about the think, pair, share activity. Then it goes into more assignments, as in there's an assignment for students to post a picture of their debate poster, which is going to be worth some points there. Below that, there's a cost and benefits vocab quiz, which actually goes to a Google form. And on that Google form, there's multiple choice questions for 12 questions, and each question is worth 1 point for each vocab word. The next one is Debate Group 2 and Debate Group 1 materials. That's where they're going to find their directions, their protocol criteria, and just a little bit more instruction on what each group is going to have to do. Below that are the directions for the lemonade stand and food choice stations. These are all learning stations in my unit, and for these learning stations and across the whole unit, students will be eventually, switching between all of them so they get a chance to work with all of the material in that. On the right side, you'll also see that there's another question. This question would be posted after the first debate that students, got to see the next day after their learning stations. And it's just like, what did you witness in class yesterday over the debate? Which side would you have chosen? And they would have had to give some reasoning behind that. Then there's the cost and benefit vocabulary word search, which I have slides covering what that looks like, and introduce yourself to the class assignment, a pre-assessment assignment, which is a Google form, and then I have a topic, which if you create a topic, you can always put more assignments under that topic, and that topic is summative assessments for the whole class, and under that is the reflection project after this unit. There are also other features. It looks a little weird because it's on my iPad, but there's a class code that you can give out to your students in order for them to join your classroom. And you'll see on the left side there's also a classroom link that you can give them in order to get there. There's a classroom meet link that is also kind of important, especially for conditions like the pandemic where we are always at home. You know, if they decided to use Google to meet with the class. That Google Classroom link and code are on the first slide of this presentation if you would like to actually see kind of what my materials look like, because I do not have screenshots of all of them. But yeah, you should be able to register into that pretty easily. And then on the right side, you'll see kind of what my tab bar looks like. There's a calendar option. There's also, you know, other classes that I've been invited to, a to-do list, classroom folders, you know, there's a help button. There's very many features that, you know, could be helpful for overall organization for your classroom. So besides the announcement that I put out on the stream, that was my very first, you know, thing that I put out, but this pre-assessment was the second one. On there I have, it's a Google form, so on there I have, you know, what's your name? All of the questions are required. This is kind of just getting to know kind of what their background and, you know, knowledge is about costs and benefits and like how to analyze your choices. Also, it has, you know, questions about, you know, how would they prefer to learn, hands-on, reading, listening, seeing, kind of thing. But yeah, there's just like important questions that I would need to know before even attempting to create or, you know, change this unit. This slide is the ending part of the unit. It also asks, you know, how would you like to work with groups, pairs, or just by yourself? That's why I asked them to rank, you know, three being your least preferred, one being your most preferred. So, for example, I would probably put one, two, three, because I really like working in groups. Pairs is also okay, and then individually, you know, I would rather work with somebody else because I really think that teaching each other is what helps me understand things better. Then that last one is, you know, just about the roles that I have for the debate groups in the learning stations. There's a facilitator role, a recorder, an illustrator, a spokesperson, and then a researcher. And there could be multiple researchers. I also have that, you know, if any of these roles, if you aren't doing anything, you should also be researching, but most likely the researchers are the people, you know, researching the most. But yeah, it says their responsibilities for the debate groups, which is pretty important for students to choose, you know, what they want to do instead of me telling them. The next assignment that I have after the pre-assessment is kind of the get to know you assignment. It's an introduction of each student to the class. On the left side, you'll see the directions that I put and how it's due at midnight and how it's only worth 10 points. The first instruction is open the link and add your own slide in front or behind some of the ones that are already there. Please make sure your name is labeled somewhere easily and seen on your slide. 3, answer at least 4 of the following questions about yourself so that like I can get to know them, and then maybe there are other students that need to get to know them as well. And then you need to incorporate some images that are school appropriate, and to just, if they complete all of the directions above, they'll simply just receive the 10 points. And then I actually do have that slide on a Google Slides. I got the template from Slides Carnival, which is why it says copy of Kate. Um, on the right side is an example of mine. And so yeah, that's just a little simple assignment for them to complete at the beginning of class. These are some features that I also included in my stream. The first one is the first announcement that I ever put out, just like welcoming them to my class. The one below it is a question that they would all have to answer for 10 points. It's just simply they get 10 points if they answer it, and of course that it's school appropriate, their answers. And the question is, based on the debate you witnessed in class yesterday, which side would you have chosen regarding whether schools should keep homework or get rid of homework? Just, some simple things to get their minds moving. Those are the kinds of questions I added to my stream. After kind of we go over some cost and benefit analysis through the learning stations, I wanted to give them a fun activity like a word search, which I generated from, an auto generator online. The directions for it are go to the word search link, which is linked to a Canva link, and that link is they're able to edit it and everything. You can use they can use like online highlighting or circling to find the words, and then once they're done finding it, they need to find a partner, and then they need to go over the vocabulary book cards or note cards that they already made for the vocab words. And this would be just kind of like a review, a fun little review for them to do before they take the vocab quiz. Like I said before, in terms of all the materials I had for the learning stations, they do have direction and protocol pages. So if you want to, you can go to the class link to actually look at those. They're on Google Docs. But finally, to wrap up this presentation, I wanted to talk about the summative assessment I have after the whole cost and benefit analysis unit is over with. So for this reflection project, I have there that like they need to choose one of the following options. It's kind of like a choice board. It's a reflection essay, a brochure, a PowerPoint presentation, a rap song, or like a poster. And then they need to answer all of the questions below, which are just kind of summarizing what they should have learned and what they should remember. Also, they're going to be able to go back to the materials they already wrote about, like the graphic organizers and stuff for each station, if they need to answer the questions. But yeah, I kind of want to just give them a choice board instead of just like a written assignment, because we all know that those aren't fun all the time. But yeah, this assignment is worth 30 points, and I did create a rubric on that. Just creativity, grammar, punctuation, and overall effort for this assignment. Since it's not like a big, argumentative essay, I wanted to just be 30 points. And if they cover all that, then I'll give them 30 points. But yeah, like I said, I really enjoyed this project and getting to create my own materials and to use materials I've used in the past. For that other unit that I was working on, I didn't actually create like a vocabulary word search for that. So that's a new kind of material that I used. But yeah, I really enjoyed this, and I hope you enjoy seeing, my cost and benefit analysis unit. So thank you.